Hi, everybody. So today I wanted to talk about consciousness, intuition, and awareness. So I believe there's a lot of it's like a cloud of illusion based around like what consciousness is, what awareness is. So I'm going to break this down and I'm going to try to make you have like a deeper understanding of what this is, right? So, what is the definition of awareness? Awareness is the knowledge or perception of a situation or fact, so the state of knowing. So, it's kind of like I see. So, it's like you've never seen fire before, and then you've seen the fire. And you're like, whoa, it's the it's the I see. You see, you see. So, and then consciousness is kind of like the state of being aware of one's surroundings or situation. So it's kind of like after you become aware, now you were in the state of consciousness. So you were kind of like understanding. Now I understand. So it's like now you're looking into the fire and you're like, whoa, so fire needs oxygen to breathe. Or I need something very hot to start a fire, right? You're understanding how what you saw is being played out. So now you understand it. You're conscious of it, right? And then it goes into intuition. So intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So it's kind of like your instinct, right? So I drew a little thing here. I'm a bad drawer. Sorry. So it's aware, so I see. Then you become conscious. So now you understand what you're seeing. And then intuition is now I use. So now you saw something, you understood something, then you use that something, right? So this can be looked at in anything, right? It's like a TV. You saw the TV. You saw that it had moving pictures, and then you understood why it has moving pictures, what goes into it to make it do such things, all that, right? And then you can use that. You can make your own TV, or you can tell people about what the TV does. You see? So, and this kind of goes back and forth. So you can be like, I see, and then I use. So I saw the fire, I used the fire. But I didn't really understand what the fire was doing or how the fire worked. So then you can be like, okay, now I saw, I used, but I want to understand. So then you go back to understanding the conscious level you have. So there's many different levels to this, just kind of like everything. So it's kind of like if you become aware of something, then you understood something, you can go back to a new thing within that topic, like science. You can go back to that thing and be like, okay, I see that thing, now I want to greater understand that thing. And so then you go back to trying to understand it. You see, it's like I see, I understand, I see, I understand. And it kind of goes back and forth. Now, what is kind of like subconsciousness? Subconsciousness is kind of like, I think of it as like a subcategory to your consciousness. So it's kind of like a subcategory to the initial idea, right? So the initial idea was understanding fire. Okay, so now I went back so many times and created these like subcategories to that specific idea. And then this is like your subconsciousness. So it's like it's like the subject matter. It's like, what's the word? It's subjective, right? It's like the things within the things kind of thing. It's, you know what I mean? It's kind of, it's very simple to understand these things. So like, this gets into so many different ways, and there's so many different like clocks on clocks on clocks, right? So for example, let's talk about like science. So science believes the pineal gland, in the pineal gland, right? It's part of your brain, and it's kind of like in the middle, okay? Now, religious or spiritual people would look at it as, oh, that's your third eye, right? So they had different understandings. So they had different conscious levels of what that thing was, but they both saw it. They both knew it was there, right? And then they use it in different ways. So spiritual people would be like opening your third eye, and they call it a chakra, and all these different things. But scientists, then they'll be like, what does the pineal gland do? What's the process of it? what chemicals go through it, when does it activate, all these things, right? So it's just different levels of consciousness. And they're still talking about the same thing, but they'll argue with each other though, because they're on like different aspects of the consciousness, right? And this is where it kind of gets tricky, this creates a lot of arguments, a lot of like, oh, you're stupid, you don't understand it the way I see it. You see, it's funny. I mean, this is kind of just what consciousness is. It's just being aware of something, and then you understood that in a different way than someone else. You see, and this is where you can kind of now look at it spiritually. So spiritually, it's like, okay, I came to this new world, right? And then I see all these things in this new world, but then I pick something that I wanted to understand more of, and something I wanted to use. You see, so then you kind of go through that cycle of that specific category of life that you want to go into, whether it be like mechanics or science things or English, language, all these different things. And so this is kind of like what your spirit is doing. And in like the esoteric realm, it's kind of like you go to the door, so you see the door, then you understand how to unlock the door or what the door is, and then you use the key to open the door. And so now once you unlock that, this is where you get the levels. So it's kind of like, okay, I unlocked that door, so I know what fire is, I understand it, I see it, you see, and then I can use it, so I can create it, right? And so now that I've gone to that realm so many different times, I can now, use my intuition. So I just know, it's like common knowledge to me now, right? And so, like I said in the other video, you're constantly throwing your information to your spirit. And so this is what kind of creates intuition. This is what creates, like, two people can be trained the exact same way to do the same thing, but one is better in a specific category than the other. It's because this one looked at it differently or understood it differently and wanted to understand a specific aspect within that aspect. You see, and this is where you kind of get the idea of like reincarnation and like, why don't you understand your like previous lives and stuff? And I beg to differ, because I think you do. I think you're an individual aspect, right, of your overall spirit. So since you're an individual aspect, you see, you can only use individual things. It's like until you become conscious of like a higher thing, if whatever is higher to you, right? And so it's kind of like in your daily lives, like some people are naturally more artistic or good at drawing, or some people are naturally better at talking than others. And this is kind of where you get the powers, different levels of intuition, different levels of understanding. Some people can like change their moods as they walk into a different room with different people, and then change their moods around those different people, or they can feel their energy, or whatever it is, whatever you're doing. And this is kind of like why you were good at it, because you previously did it and you previously focused on that thing, you see. And I mean, it's pretty simple to understand. I hope I broke it down enough for you guys. Just let me know in the comments if you liked it, and tell me anything else you guys want to understand or learn about. I hope I kind of shed some light on what it is, because it's a lot of, bullshit around it. It's like you're always conscious, right, of something. It's just you have different levels of consciousness within different subcategories, right? So you it's funny, like some persons, more conscious in one thing, and some persons more conscious in another. But they're both, conscious. We're always conscious. So it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, you're not conscious, or you're not conscious, or you're not aware. It's like they are. They just see it differently. They understand it differently, right? And the only thing that can kind of break that cycle is a third person's perspective. So it's like someone outside of that circle that you're in can be like, hey, it's like, this is how I see what you're doing. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then they go back and they analyze, they might change things, stuff like that. But okay, I hope you guys understood and enjoyed. Goodbye.